So this is a follow-up to my 7-string project build. I'm not going to play it because it's currently out of tune. But I guess first things first would be to thank everyone that tuned in, watched the whole series. I wasn't expecting this much of a response or this much engagement, so very appreciated. I thought I'd do this kind of follow-up video just to kind of go over the things that went well and the things that I could have improved upon. To recap, I bought a 7-string Ibanez a couple of years back. Thought I'd repaint it, redo the whole thing. Ended up never really finishing it, and it was just kind of sitting there until the other day where I thought I'd finish off the build just once and for all and just have a 7-string guitar again. Long story short, I messed up the original body. I was ready to throw in the towel, and I thought, actually, hang on, what if I just 3D printed the guitar? And I did a load of research, watched a couple of YouTube videos, and saw that there was a load of people that already had 3D printed guitars, so it was possible. So yeah, I jumped in, didn't really have much to go off, so I scanned this in my 2D printer, and I basically just traced over it in Fusion 360, because at the time I thought, this is probably the only way I know how to. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought, screw it, I'll just go in head first and see where I go. And yeah, it ended up actually all coming together really nicely. And yeah, here's the finished thing. It is fully working, but I thought I'd do a video basically going over the things that went well and to go over a few things that I could improve on and what I would have done differently with the magical power of hindsight. So yeah, let's get to it. So there was a couple of things that went well. Designing the thing was actually really straightforward. You put it into the 2D printer, you take a scan, and in Fusion 360 I imported the image, I calibrated it, so I took a measurement from one part of the guitar to another. I input that data into Fusion 360 and it gives you a pretty much spot on scale of the entire guitar body. And then off the back of that, it was actually pretty straightforward. I just sketched around the shape of the guitar, I sketched over the holes, and yeah, I mean, that actually went really smooth. I was kind of surprised how easy it was. Spent a couple of hours tinkering the design until I was happy with it. And yeah, printed it off. I printed off a test print, so this kind of center bit I call the mainframe. I don't know what the actual name is, but I've been calling it the mainframe. I printed off like a test version. I test fit some of the hardware and stuff, and I test fit the neck just to make sure that all of my tolerances were all good. And yeah, so that leads me to the next thing that went well, which was the assembly. So the design that I knocked up was pretty straightforward. There are a total of 6 pieces to this guitar, and they all kind of just interlock with 2 wooden dowels that go through. And the thing that I really wanted to avoid was just doing a lot of sanding and a lot of post-processing. I hate doing that stuff, so I just really wanted to nail it. And yeah, it ended up not too much sanding, not too much post-processing, just a little bit of clear up. Putting it together was a walk in the park. It was real easy. The dowels went in really smoothly. The glue held up really well, and that was actually really easy to apply. And yeah, pretty strong. Would be awkward if it broke now with me pulling it apart. But yeah, so I mean, I guess this project actually wasn't that difficult. It was actually quite easy to pull off. So I'm actually got really pleased that it wasn't a nightmare. Otherwise, I probably would have just given up and never bothered finishing this guitar off and probably just bought another 7-string. So yeah. So brings me to the next part of the video, which would be the things that I would improve or do differently. So there's a couple of things. I would not trace over the design again. Reason being is, at the start of this project, I had no clue what I was doing, and this just seemed like the easiest option. Now that I've got the hang of it and I'm a little bit better at using Fusion 360, I think next time round I would design it from the ground up. I'd take the scale length measurements and it would be a lot easier to model. I think I would definitely have a little bit more control over the design and the shape. This was purely just like a prototype test run, one-off. The other thing that I would have done is not print the guitar in its final colours. Reason being is this gold top is the gold top. I'm not going to be sanding this down because it would have to basically get painted. It would like ruin the top. So when I was actually building this from the start and I was starting to sand it down, I had to be really careful that I didn't sand down the top, because otherwise that would have definitely stood out like a sore thumb. So yeah, I would just print it in one colour straight away. Any sanding, smoothing down that I need to do, I can just do it and then paint over it, spray paint it, whatever, and it would look a lot nicer, and I'll be able to get rid of some of the line work as well, especially if it's on the top. Not so much on the back and the sides because you don't really see that, but yeah, definitely stick to one colour and then just sand it and spray paint it going forward. Now, the final thing, which is probably the biggest issue I have with this, is the neck joint isn't strong enough. So to demonstrate this, when I play the guitar, it's out of tune, but any slight movement on the neck is so noticeable that it throws it out of tune. And I was kind of miffed about this because the top 3 strings would actually like go out of tune quite quickly. So when I'd play, I had to be so careful like not to move my hand too much, otherwise it would throw the tuning out. And I was thinking, well, what's going on here? And then when I looked on the back, there is like a noticeable bowing to the actual mainframe. And I guess where it is a 7 string and it's using quite a thick string for the B string, and there's that extra tension, it's causing the guitar to flex a little bit, and the action is quite high. It's not that this guitar isn't playable, it is playable, but it's probably not ideal. So I'd probably play this for short periods and I probably wouldn't move my hand too much. Next time round, the mainframe needs way more reinforcing. Like where I put the wooden dowels, I thought it would reinforce the body, which it did to some extent, as well as holding the rest of the parts down. But at the same time, they probably should have gone into like a more critical place, like near the neck joint or straight through the body. So yeah, next time, definitely gonna reinforce the mainframe, especially around where that neck joint is, because that is quite critical. So speaking of next time, the response I got was pretty good and I really enjoyed doing this project. So I thought, look, I'm gonna buy another neck and I'm gonna have another crack at it, because in light of all of these thoughts that I had about improvements and going forward, I thought, look, I'm going to give it another go and see how I do. But I'm not going to do a 7 string, I'm just going to do just a normal 6 string guitar. And yeah, I will probably make some more long form content following this next build, as well as just the normal short form stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching.